everyone. My name's Leanne. I work at Folk Office. I'm sure I've spoken to a lot of you before by email or on the telephone. Tonight is the group webinar, and I'm going to be hosting it with one of the group team. His name is Tim, and he's going to be taking us through the system. Can I ask that everyone turns off their microphones so that we don't get too much interruptions through the session? There will be time for questions. If anyone wants to write questions whilst we are going through the session, we can address them at the end, and then we can all turn our speakers off at the end and have a bit of a discussion if we want to. So I'm going to just start off with a quick slideshow, and then we're going to go on to Tim's presentation. So can I get the first slide, please? So as you all know, we have moved on to Groop to do our online group management. The decision to move to Groop was based around GDPR and wanting to reduce admin for our volunteers and staff. There was a need for oversight for data collection, and we wanted to streamline processes around group registration, gift aid, and so forth. So the system can do a number of things, which is fantastic. It can do registers for groups, so it can do child registrations online. We can send out communication to our members and send out alerts to participants. We can create registers for the group. We can do online events, so members can book online to attend camps and group nights. We will also be able to do membership in DBS very soon. Through Groop, but at the moment we are going to be staying with Civi for the time being. We'll be able to take payments online, so parents can pay subs online, which is fantastic, and can pay for camps and other events. It'll also be able to generate reports for accounting. You'll be able to do registers for events, for group nights, and for funding applications. And there's also a great resources library where we'll be uploading all of our policies too, nationally, and there will also be a section for groups and districts to upload their resources to that area too, so it's accessible for leaders and parents. So that's one of the beauties of group online management. So this is why we've moved over to this system. I really wanted to talk to you about roles really quickly. So Groop runs on a hierarchy structure, which means that within each level is then able to have oversight of the subgroups below it. So as you can see here, we've got National Woodcraft Folk at the top, followed by regions, districts, and groups. So each Woodcraft Folk level has their own dashboard on the system, and depending on your role, you'll have a different level of access and permissions. I'm going to focus on district contacts, as you can see here, and group contacts. But all the Woodcraft Folk roles are explained in the guidance that's available on our website. But as you can see here, with the districts, the district contacts and office holders will have access only to the district level and some oversight of the groups within their district. Currently, their role is limited to creating office holder roles within the people section on the district level, view the groups they have open, so they won't be able to actually see the individual dashboards of each group, but they'll be able to see a list of every group that's within their district. You'll be able to set up events currently only available within the district, send out group chat communications to groups within the district, and prepare invoices at district level. There are plans for more development to increase oversight for districts, but this will be introduced over the coming months. Tim will explain more about this as he takes you through the system and let you know about the developments that are coming up. So we also have group contacts. So group contacts will have access to their group and have responsibility for registering children, maintaining group meeting information, updating the group contact person, and also be able to do the annual group registration, which we're currently going through at the moment. On the next slide, you'll see that I have listed the types of tasks that each role will be able to do. So you can see how they differ, how you have more responsibility within the group contact admin role, but the district contact is less task driven, but you have a bit more oversight of what's happening. So with regards to safeguarding, all the role holders, or they're also known as admins, who are who are accessing participant data must be vetted members. So please bear that in mind when you're selecting roles for the adult members in your groups. So we would say they need to have an up-to-date DBS, and they would also have to have the 2 suitability references that you check for when they apply for membership. Also, with roles, I just want to point out, please bear in mind that if you're a member of more than one group and have a different role in each, your access levels may change depending on where you are in the system. So if you are within your group role, you'll be able to have a lot more oversight of what's happening in that group. But if you also are the district contact, I know within the district level, you will see a slightly different view. So just bear that in mind. And also, if you were a parent acting as a guardian, when you switch to the My Dependent section, you would have another different view, because obviously you'll be acting on behalf of the child that you're the guardian for. But Tim will explain more about guardians in a minute. So that's just a quick overview of the roles. But as I said before, it's all really explained in the guidance. And it does look like a lengthy bit of guidance, but you are able to go through it based on your role rather than having to go through every page of the guidance. So that's just a quick oversight on roles. And Tim's now going to take us through to the system. We set up a bit of a mock Woodcraft group. So he's going to take you through registering children. He's going to take you through the guardian section and how you view a dependent. He's also going to take you through how to set up an event and the invoices and online payments as well. So I'm going to be here in the background, happy to jump in and answer some questions if need be, but Tim is going to kind of whiz through the system and give you an idea how it all works. So I'm going to sign off my microphone now and let Tim take over.
Perfect. Thanks, Leanne. So as Leanne said, my name's Tim. I work at Groop itself, and I am the sales solution consultant. I work very closely with the sort of customer success team, if you like. And this evening, before I let you all go and eat a load of pancakes, I'll take you through the software itself. Starting off, this is me actually logging in as a sort of admin view, and the reason that I've sort of logged in as admin view is that I'm therefore able to take you through every sort of area of the software. As Leanne said, depending on what your role is, depends on maybe the functionality and the features that you have in this left hand side. So if there are a couple of areas that don't quite look familiar to yourselves, or you don't have those, then that's not a problem at all. But initially, I'll start out by sort of landing in my sort of group chat area, if you like. In here, everyone can communicate, they can chat, they can comment, they can like on people's posts if they want to. I can also add images and documents via the small circle just next to the post message section. And again, depending on my role, it might be that I'm able to send a message privately to individuals. And again, if I have got the permission, I'm actually able to oversee all of these private messages just to make sure there's nothing going on in a chat that shouldn't be. But from here, I also have the ability to personalize the banner and a logo, so I can make it nice and personalized to the group that I'm actually in and a part of. And that pretty much sums up the My Group chat area, to be honest. It's very similar to your sort of Facebooks and WhatsApps of the world, but of course we're in a nice, secure, private and enclosed environment for people to be able to, express their feelings and post and share things that they've been sort of up to, and just communicate and share knowledge. So the My Group chat area is perfect for that sort of real-time live communication between everyone. The next section that I'll head on to is probably the People's Database. The People's Database is essentially everybody that is a part of your group. This is where you can see a nice overview of these individuals, and also add and create people to actually join these events and maybe potential groups that you've got going on. Again, I can see nicely that I've got a bit of a database here with a number of different people within it and their different roles. I can also filter this down nicely to actually maybe search for specific individuals, or maybe search for them via the role that they've been given. So whether this is maybe an admin, a treasurer, the district contact, or maybe I'm just looking to find the sort of children or young persons within my group. And I can do that nice and simply from within here. So if I go ahead and select role to be a child, it will show me all of those individuals that have that role selected against them. So it's a nice filtering tool for me to be able to find people nice and quickly. And also, if I wanted to, I can export this out via CSV nice and simply. So it's a nice way to be able to get and gather granular data. So whether it is I'm looking for specific individuals with roles and maybe labels against them, which I'll come on to later, I'm actually able to specifically pick and choose these pieces of information from within the filtering section. Once I am happy, I can go ahead and just export the CSV nice and quickly, and depending on the type of machine that you're on, this will either take it to a potentially Microsoft Excel or Numbers if you are on a Mac, but I believe you can actually choose which program you open this up with when you first click onto it for the very first time. What I'm going to go ahead and do is actually go into the Create Person section. Now in here I've actually got a number of different areas that I can actually fill in, and it might be that there's actually two different types of accounts for the Groop software in some ways. The way that I describe this is maybe more of an active account, which is someone who has an email address and has been invited onto the software. Now, because I've been invited onto the software, it means that I can actually go into the specific areas depending on my role. And the other is actually a non-active account, which I tend to just describe as a bit of a passive record of an individual. I can still actually put information against them, but it means that you just can't log into the software, maybe communicate with everyone in the My Group chat section, but I'm still holding a record and actually information of that individual. Now, just because they can't log in, I can still actually assign them to events and different things that I've got going on within my organization, just so that maybe in 4 months' time I can look back and say, actually, I had 6 people turn up to this event, even though they're just passive records. So within here, obviously I can select a specific role for an individual. I can actually add contact details, new addresses, additional information. So as much or as little information can be put against an individual as you like. Now, I head down and we get to the labels section. Labels is a bit of a running theme throughout the whole of the software. Now, we can add labels to people, events, and invoices. Now, the way that this is done is down at the bottom in my navigation bar. I can head to the labels section. And once I'm in labels, I can actually create these myself. It might be that if you are maybe in one of the lower groups or districts, as Leanne showed in her presentation from the pyramid, it might be that the Woodcraft office at the very top have already created some labels. Now, these are actually inherited through that pyramid and are actually gathered in the labels section for you to then use. I also can choose between events and invoices, and actually if I am maybe an admin or have permission, I can actually just go ahead and create some of my own as well. Once I've created these, they'll actually populate just beneath here, and I can see that I've got a couple here such as Woodchip, Elfin, and when I'm actually back in people creating my user, if I head to the labels section and actually type in here Wood, and them able to see the specific labels. At the moment, there isn't a drop-down choice. I have to type in here to be able to search for the label that I'm after or the one that I've created. Once I'm happy with that, I can then click on it and actually it assigns it to the individual. Now, an individual can also have multiple labels assigned against them. It's entirely up to you, again, how many labels you put in against an individual. And the reason for labels is, the way that I describe this is keywords. If you're looking to maybe report out on a specific demographic, whether that's your young people, you might want to find out how many young people, and a label that could be created, for example, is asthmatic. Once you've assigned that label to those individuals, you might then want to run a report to find out how many young people within my Marshmallow Elfins is a young person with asthma, and because of the labeling structure, I'm able to actually run that report and find that information out, and again, once I'm at the people section, export that via CSV. Now, as I head down the page further, I can input next of kin information, doctor's details, and the section that I'm going to get to now is guardians. Now, the individual that I'm on at the moment, I'm actually going to create this person as just a child record. The reason for this is actually, I beg your pardon, I'm actually going to create this one as a parent. So I'm going to pop in parent here, surname parent, the role, I'm going to select as parent, perfect. The email is parent@email.com. Once I'm happy with that, I can fill in, as I said, as much or as little information. This is going to be the first individual that we're creating here. So the parent will always be the first user created for when we're actually looking at the Guardian section. Now, obviously, there's a couple of additional boxes at the bottom here, which I'll come to in just a moment. But once I'm happy with the parent's information that I've got on the system first, I'm going to go ahead and create that user. Now, the reason for adding the parent first is that when I then go to add my young person or child accounts, I'm able to actually assign this parent to those individuals if they don't have an email. So for example, I'm going to pop in child here and child as a last name. I'm going to select my role as the child. In this instance, I don't actually have an email address associated with this person. It might be that they're under the age of 13 or again just don't have an email. So in this case, I'm going to leave this blank. When I actually head down to the bottom of the page now and get to the Guardian section, I want to make sure that I'm allowing a Guardian to log in on behalf of this user. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And then from the list, I can actually choose which user I want to give access to and be able to log in on behalf of. So in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and give the parent account that we created earlier access. And for the sort of purpose of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and give myself access as well. Now, I can actually select multiple guardians against an individual. So whether it is, 2 individuals, 3 individuals and a carer, you can actually have as many guardians against an individual as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and create this child account. And once I've done that, I can now actually see the My Dependents section on my left-hand side here. Now, I'm just going to quickly go ahead and refresh my page just to make sure that that information has been stored against my account. When I head to the My Dependents, you'll notice that I've actually now got 2 dependents against me. One of these potentially was set up in the past. And you'll also notice the child account that I've just created has now been logged against myself. From here, because I am a guardian of this individual, I can go ahead and log in on behalf of. And you'll notice that because of this specific role that this individual has, their dashboard on the left here, or navigation bar, completely depletes. And now I'm actually only able to see what this child account has given by the permission and the role that they've been given. So for example, I can come into here and actually communicate with the individuals on the My Group chat. I can also come into the My Events section. And again, if I had been invited to any, I could respond to these on behalf of the child that I have just been sort of allocated, if you like. Once I'm happy and I've done what I needed to do, I can actually go ahead and log out of the user and it brings me back into the account that I'm sort of originally in. So hopefully, in terms of the guardian and sort of parental side of things, that makes a little bit more sense. The final section that I will touch upon at the very bottom here is actually customizable roles, and depending on whether you have permission, you can actually go ahead and start to look at creating customizable roles for maybe gathering pieces of information that you obviously at the moment aren't in the people section, but it means that you can actually gather and collect specific information that might not actually have a space or an area for that information to be gathered. So the reason and the way that this is done is down in customizable fields, and I can actually create customizable fields for users and events as well. But for this case, I will just use the user one, but they're both exactly the same. And I'll come on to show you where you can find the customizable fields for events as well. But in this instance, I'm going to create a customizable field area. It populates a new one at the bottom here. I can remove the actual title for it, and in this case I'm going to put volunteer hours. Go ahead and create a field for that, days available, and then the field type for this I'm going to actually choose a multiple select. Now there's lots of different other areas and fields that you can use. The text is a nice short sort of quick answer. Your text area is one which is a bit bigger for a bit more detail and information. Number is a standard sort of number picker, if you like, for if you were looking to gather maybe shoe sizes, you could use that. Date and time picker, your sort of standard select, yes, no, A, B, and the multiple select, which I'm going to be using for this instance. The example I like to give here is maybe for volunteers, they're able to actually say what days they're available. So I've got the days of the week, and I can then say I'm available to volunteer on Monday, Thursday, and Friday. We do also have the file upload as well, which enables me, if I was looking to gather possibly DBSs, certificates, that side of things, I can actually choose to select the file. But in this instance, I'm going to go multiple select, and I'm just going to punch in some of the days of the week and a Wednesday. Once I'm happy, I'm going to go ahead and create that. And then once I'm back in the people section, again, I'm just going to refresh my screen just to make sure that that data has stored itself. And then when in creating a person, whether it's maybe a new child account that I'm adding, once I head to the bottom of the page, my new customizable field that I've just created will be located here. Now I can then select the specific days that I've chosen for these individuals and then save this information or create a user if it is the very first case that I'm actually creating that record. From within the people section, as much as it's great myself, maybe as an admin, being able to upload and put in this information, it might be that I actually want to just upload some really basic information against the individual, such as first name, last name, and an email address. The other information that I have might not actually be, I don't know it, for example. Now, the reason and the way that we can get around this is, for example, if I choose the parent role that we just created and go ahead and edit, I can actually submit sections to this individual. Now, what that means is that I'm actually able to submit sections for the individuals to fill out. In this instance, it might be that I want to have their photo permissions and I want their days available for their volunteering hours. Now, this actually sends them an email notification, which they then actually fill in. And once that information has been filled in, it automatically populates the data in the system itself. So it means that any admins, they won't have to do this. They can actually click on and select the specific pieces of information they want to send out to the individuals. And you can also do this in bulk as well. So for example, if I'm to filter my people's list here, I can filter this down to maybe the specific, in this instance, I'm going to say parents. And I'm actually going to say, I want to submit every single one of these parents a data request. And in this instance, and I'll come on to possibly at the end in terms of being able to submit data to a parent to then fill out on behalf of a dependent. This is something that we are working on currently and is sort of in the final stages of testing. Now, I'm happy to sort of answer some questions around that at the very end, but for this instance, if I am looking to send a bulk sort of data submit to individuals, I do it through the sort of filtering tool, and then from here I can select I want to have all the additional details, and it will then send it to every one of those individuals who has an email address. That is the people section. Obviously, if there are any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, or feel free to add them at the very end where we'll address those. The next section we're going to look at is the events section. Now, in this instance, the events is very similar to the people. And if I had any events created, they would be populated in here. Now, I have the same filtering tool as I do in people, and from here can actually filter out to find maybe specific events that I've created. And again, I can find them for specific date and times, or maybe just the name that it's containing. To create an event, it's really nice and easy. I can click Create Event at the very top, and you'll notice I've got a couple of additional tabs at the top of here as well, which I'll come on to in just a moment. But the event details, I can fill in the name, start dates and times, a bit of a description, and also the location of where this is being held. You'll notice we've got that nice running theme of the labels as well. So very similar to people, I can actually come into here and maybe select a specific event label, whether that is grant funded, and I've created it in my label section. I'd be able to search for grant funded in here and then select that label to sort of stamp, if you like, against this event. At the top of the page, as I said, we've got a couple of additional tabs. The first one being the plan, and in here I can pop in the date it was planned and also a bit of a description around that. And also say who it was that planned it via, the slider here. I can actually select who it was that planned this session. At the very top, I've also got the invited section, and this is essentially your people's database. And again, I can filter nice and simply to say, right, in this instance, I want to invite all of the child groups or users that have the child role assigned against them, and then maybe select everyone to come along to this. I also do have the evaluation section, which enables me to evaluate the session once it's happened. Again, very similar to the plan. I can pop in the date and the evaluation for this as well. I've also got my evaluated by, which is essentially my people's database, and can select who it was that actually evaluated the session at the very end. Once the event has been created and sent out, again, depending on if the event has, for example, in this instance, I will pop this as WC for Woodcraft. The start date is going to be today, and I'll select the time as 10 o'clock, for example. Actually, let's go a little bit later. Let's go 8 o'clock. The description I'm just going to put as Woodcraft. The location I'll pop as online. And in this instance, I'll also add the end time for, say, 9 o'clock. Again, if I had any labels for the events, I would select them in here. But in this instance, I'm just going to go straight to the invited list. And in this case, I'm going to just take off the role selected, which is child. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just invite myself to this one. Once I've created the event, you'll notice that it populates it at the bottom here, the start times, end dates, and who it is that's been invited. I can see that one individual here has been invited. Now, if I have sent out this to a number of sort of parents or children, this will appear in their My Events section, and you'll notice it's populated it here very nicely. I can actually respond to this to say whether I'm going, not going, or undecided. I can also view the event in a little bit more detail and also download the event. And what that means is that I'm able to download that to my personal calendar so that I can get those other sort of push notifications in that respect and actually see that in my personal calendar without potentially having to log back into the Groop software to remind myself. Now, if I do head to the event itself, back in the sort of more admin section of events, I can actually go ahead and click onto that just by a nice simple left click and then go ahead and repeat it for a number of weeks. I can clone it and also go ahead and edit it again. Now, if I do jump into edit, you'll notice that I've now actually got a number of additional tabs at the very top of the page. The first one that I'm going to look at is actually the RSVP. And again, for maybe admins and staff members, it's a really nice way to see the number of people that are going to be turning up to the event itself, whether they're going, not going, or unresponded. You can see a nice sort of visual representation here of those individuals that might be turning up. I've also got the registration as well, and I can actually tick these individuals in on the day nice and simply by moving the slider. And you'll notice that when I do this, I actually get a plus notification. If I go ahead and click on that, it enables me to actually add notes against these individuals. I can actually add notes specifically to say whether they turned up late or whether they were well behaved, anything along those lines. I'm able to add these specific notes in against these individuals and then report out on that at a later stage as well. You'll notice I've also got the invoice section, which enables me to send an invoice as well as the event. I'm able to send and attach an invoice with this. So in here, it might be that the camp that's running, I can add an amount which is £10, the reference, a bit of a message, and once that invoice has been sent, it will relate to the event itself. And for those that receive it, it will turn up in their My Group Pay, just like the event did. But in this instance, it would be an invoice. Unfortunately, I don't have any in this account as it is sort of a bit of a demo account, if you like. But if they did have any invoices sent to them, that would be turning up in this area here. While we're on the subject of invoices, we also have the Group Pay admin section, which enables you to actually create one-off invoices, for example, rather than actually attaching them to an event or a project, session, anything along those lines. You have the ability to create an invoice here with the amount, the reference, and again, who it is you want to send this to. I can select absolutely everyone, or actually filter this down to say these are the specific people I want this invoice to go to. Now, this might be just a membership fee or anything along those lines. You'll notice the members labels, the invoicing labels, very sort of similar theme here with the labels being able to attach them to people and events. We also have the ability to attach them to the invoices as well. And again, a bit of a message with the invoice. You can save it for later or send it straight away. And again, this invoice will land in their My Group Pay section. Moving on to resources. And again, if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to sort of throw them in the chat or ask them at the end. More than happy to answer them once we've finished this. And again, I will not keep you too much longer from your pancakes. So the resources section, in here I'm able to actually upload documents myself to the My Documents section. In here I can add specific files. It doesn't matter what the file type is. The current software actually supports any file type, and actually there is no limit to how much you can upload into here as well. And if I head back a page, I've also got the group library, which enables me to access any policies and procedures. And in here, I believe we've now got over 300 pieces of sort of quality assured material that is checked and regulated very often. So if you were maybe looking for specific policies, anti-bullying, driving at work, health and safety, anything along those lines, these are set up in very much sort of skeleton structures that you can come in, download, and then re-upload them into your My Documents section. Now, you'll notice I've also got documents from Woodcraft folk. Depending on where I am in that sort of pyramid of tiers, if you like, if I am sat at maybe a district level and have groups beneath me, I'm able to actually upload documents into here, and these will actually get filtered through the hierarchy to any lower groups beneath me. They actually inherit all of those documents, so you're able to actually upload one document, and if you do have any groups beneath you, that actually inherits to those groups, so they will always have those policies, again, providing that they have access to the resources structure. A couple of final areas is the communications. This is essentially your email out if you are looking to maybe send a bulk email to your users and participants. In here I can create a new communication with the subject, the content, the reply to, and who it is that I'm actually sending this email to. Very similar to your group pay admin, and any of the people in your people's database will show up in here. Again, I can save the email or send it straight away, entirely up to you if you are looking to maybe send it at a later date, or whether you're actually looking to send it straight away. You can do that all from within here, as well as having that sort of two-way communication at the My Group chat end as well. The report section, as much as I've spoken about the sort of people and events section, being able to maybe gather much more granular reports in terms of how many children have we got in my marshmallow elfins who are asthmatic. In the report section here, I can actually say I want to find all of my member information. And this is much more of your sort of large data reports, in terms of this will give me every single piece of information against an individual, rather than maybe the more specifics from the filtering tools in the people and events section. Again, if you are part of maybe a bit of a hierarchy, depending on if you have any groups beneath you, you can also run subgroup member attendances and any sort of other reports that give you access to the sort of groups beneath you. You can pull a report nice and quickly from there to find out maybe specific attendances and numbers from maybe your subgroups beneath you. Finally, we've got the group settings, which in here, if you did need to potentially change the name of your group or any of the information, then you can populate that in here. One thing that we do have coming up very shortly, which is in sort of the final stages of testing that we are working on currently, is actually being able to add a customizable field to the group details section. And in here, you're actually able to maybe put in your opening hours, a bit of a description, which will later, I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Leanne, but I think this will actually then display on the website as well. So there's quite a bit of exciting stuff coming around the customizable field section for the group details. So that pretty much wraps us up in terms of the demo for this session. Obviously, if anyone has any questions, and I at the moment can't see the chat, so I don't know whether there has been any in there, but if anyone does have any questions, then please feel free to fire them through.
Yeah, so I can see the chat, Tim, so I'm happy to read out the questions and we can answer them together.
Perfect.
The first question I've got is, can the parent add the additional data on the child? So I think they're asking if the parent is a guardian,
yep,
are they able to fill in the kind of child registration form on behalf of that child?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
so this is something that's been discussed in the past, and we are actually in the final stages of just testing the ability for say if an admin, for example, sends a parent a data request, but they're actually requesting data from their child, we want the parent to actually be able to fill out this information on behalf of the child. At the moment, unfortunately, this isn't possible, but we've been working quite hard on being able to actually do this through the software. So we're in the final stages of testing this, and we'd like to think that it would be with you within the next sort of couple of weeks. So it's very close to being able to do that.
Yeah, so at the moment, we're recommending that you can use the data from the paper forms and fill that in manually on behalf of the parent and put that into the system for them. I have put together a kind of child registration flow chart which takes you through if a child has a sibling, if the child's parent is a leader within the system, etc. And it just goes through the kind of stages you need to go through in order to get the registration to work correctly. That is available on the group page on the Woodcraft website that we put together. But I will send it to all attendees tomorrow morning so you can have that bit of guidance on registration. The second question was, will the health forms be pre-created in the people record, or do we need to create custom fields? I mean, they ask questions on the current registration form does have health form questions on it, but I mean, if you wanted to add more, you can do that through custom fields. I am planning to contact all group contacts and ask about whether what kind of standard questions they want to be asked in the form that could be mandatory fields, and that email is going to go out this week as well, so that we can have kind of standard questions that every group asks, and then obviously then you have your additional custom fields. But there are health questions currently on the child registration form. So I hope that answers your question. The third question was, if you invite a child to an event by email and they do not have an email address, does it automatically go to the parent guardian?
Again, another good question, and I believe at the moment, unfortunately, it doesn't. When we actually deploy the sort of ability to request data through a parent or guardian, we are looking at also deploying the ability for, say, for example, if a child is invited to an event, or again, if they are requested a payment, we're looking at having this actually notify the parent, because if the child doesn't have an email address, then obviously no one gets notified. So it's in our books and very close to actually again being deployed in terms of the guardian receiving a notification saying that the child has been either invited to an event or has been requested a payment, which they can then go ahead and look at. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. So at the moment, I would say, I think Tim might agree, that we'll just, when you're sending out invitation, invite the parents as well, and in the kind of event information, make it clear in the text, say, if you are a guardian, please go to the My Dependent section in order to book your child onto this child event.
Yeah, another way that you could go around that is also via the My Group chat. If you are to post and say that you've just sent out a load of invites for a specific event or camp, if you were to post something in the My Group chat, the parent will actually get a notification saying that either an admin or a staff member has posted, and then they'll be able to see that and then log into the My Dependent section and actually go ahead and respond to the events.
Brilliant, thank you. The next question was, do we need to create an event for every weekly session? I mean, we're saying, we're recommending that you should do that so that you're able to have a register on the system and to use for the group night, and you know who's attending. It also means that you can attach invoices to the event and people can pay their subs online. But I understand if you may decide that you want to invoice parents on a termly basis, and therefore you would, rather than go through My Events and create an invoice attached to that, you would just go to the group pay admin instead. So I'd say it's down to the group to make that decision whether they want to advertise every group night via the system, or
in terms of if it's more the sort of admin side of things and the sort of time consuming ability, if you are to create one event, you do have the option to repeat it multiple times, so it actually saves you from actually having to type in that information all over again. But yeah, as Leanne said, it's entirely up to you how you go about it, but the repeat or copy functionality is there to be used in terms of that nice time saving side of things.
The next question was, will the parent receive several event notifications, email, SMS for several dependents? So
yes,
I think if you're dependent of more than one, if you're a guardian of more than one child.
Yeah, so again, this was something that we've looked at in terms of what if a dependent, what happens if a guardian is, has more than one dependent. It'll actually come up, the way that we're sort of writing this is that if an individual has been requested data, it'll actually say the individual's name. So it'll be something along the lines of Marshmallow Elfins has requested data on behalf of X, or insert child's name here. So it'll actually show you or tell you which one it is that has been requested data, so you're able to see and can choose obviously which one you're filling it in on behalf of. So that is something that is coming as part of it.
We then have two questions about gift aid, and so they're both asking, can we invoice people if it's a voluntary contribution? We don't charge fees, we ask for donations towards our group for attendance. So at the moment, Groop are working on a kind of subs donation section. Tim will know a bit more about it, but that is on its way to us. At some point in this thing.
Yes, so we are again working currently on the ability to do donations through the software rather than maybe a sort of standard invoice. The way that this works is that people will be able to select and choose how much they actually donate, if you like. I believe there is sort of some work still to be done on this, so I'm not 100% sure in terms of timescales and timeframes, but I'm more than happy to sort of find out, and I can let you know probably tomorrow, Leanne, so that you can then sort of let everyone know after this session. But I believe there's a little bit of work still to go on it, but we are on it.
Brilliant, thank you. The next question, can we create emails at district level to all members?
In terms,
I believe that, I'm not sure about emails at the moment, but I know that group chat you can send kind of notifications to all subgroups below you, but I'm not entirely sure if you can do emails yet. Is that right, Tim?
So is that in terms of if you're looking to email out a load of individuals?
I think so. If you're a district coordinator or have a district officer on the roll, can you send out emails to all the members within your groups to let them know about a piece of information? I think it's only through group chat at the moment, isn't it?
That is correct. Yeah, unfortunately, at the moment we don't have sort of, I guess, email communications through the sort of subgroups. I don't know, to be honest with you, if that's ever been brought up before, so it's a really good question, something I'm happy to take to the development team. But yes, at the moment it would be done through the sort of my group chat, the ability to actually push maybe messages or posts to potential subgroups.
Next question, how will we be able to delete any mistakes, and will a district person have this authority, or do we need to contact head office? At the moment, I think if you do have mistakes on the system, you can contact Groop directly through their live chat and ask them to delete any mistakes that you may have. We are, for retention purposes, not letting can't delete children from the system. We're supposed to hold on to child registration forms for a period of 2 years after the child has left the group. So instead you can label the child as no longer attending, and then you can filter your list so those children either don't appear or will drop to the bottom of that list. But yes, feel free to contact Groop if you have anything that you need to be deleted from the system with regards to people.
Yeah, I was going to say, so with regards to that, at the moment, as Leanne has just said, in the people section, you can't currently delete or remove an individual. However, if you do contact us, and I've brought up at the bottom here, you have the option to go through to a live chat. That actually comes through to myself there at the top, and a couple of other members from the team, and we can actually remove those users for you. Now, we are again working currently on the ability to archive individuals, and that will be able to be done through yourselves on the software. In the people's database, you're actually able to come onto here, click onto the individual, and underneath edit, it'll also say archive. Again, this is something that's about to be deployed and is very close to going live. What this actually does is essentially it will hide them from your list. However, it'll actually still retain the information that they might have once attended an event that they went to 3 months ago. So it will remove them from your list, so it will be nice and neat and tidy, but it'll actually still retain that information of the individual that they potentially turned up to an event 3 weeks ago or a month ago. So yes, that's on its way very shortly as well.
Brilliant, thank you. The next question. In the original webinar, we were told Groop would automatically chase people for subs. Is that the case? I know you can do the invoicing, but does the system automatically send out a chase if it's later than, say, 30 days, 2 weeks? Or do you have to do that manually?
So at the moment, unfortunately, the software doesn't do that. We are looking into the ability to actually be able to sort of nudge people, if you like, and say, hey, this is overdue by 2 weeks, or, you know, that ability. It's on our roadmap. Again, I'm not 100% sure in terms of timescales with that one, but the best way around that would be at the moment through the My Group chat and the ability to actually send a private message to an individual. For example, I will pick on yourself here, Leanne, and I can actually send a private message to Leanne to say, hey, heads up, the invoice that we sent to you last week is now overdue. So at the moment, a way around that would be on the My Group chat, being able to send a message privately to the individual if I know their email, name, or potentially a label against them. But it is something that we are looking at being able to do in terms of sending maybe a push notification to let people know that they are running behind on maybe an invoice or something along those lines.
Another question. Read child email. Should we put parent email on child record then? So I think I would say with this one, if a parent is involved in the group and will have a record on the group, I would add the parent with their own email address, and then, as Tim was explaining before, then add the child manually without an email address, and then make the parent the guardian of the child. If the parent is not involved in Woodcraft and they are solely just sending their child to Groop, then I would add the child to the system and then use the parent's email, and then they can log in on behalf of the child and, you know, book events and pay online. As I said, I've got a kind of flow chart, registration flow chart that I will send out to everyone tomorrow, which will kind of take you through the steps of when to make a parent a guardian or to put a child on solely on their own. But I don't know if there's anything more to add, Tim, to that one.
No, I think you've explained that very well.
Brilliant. Another question. I wasn't able to see Tim's screen when he attached a child to a parent. Please, could you run through this again? Are you able to show us quickly how
of course.
Add a parent as a guardian?
Yeah, of course. So hopefully everyone still can see my screen. What I did in this instance is that I actually created here the parent account first. So I went ahead and put in their first name, last name, selected their role, which was the parent. In this instance, I've put in the email address, which I've just made up, which is parent@email.com. And then in this instance, I'm not going to touch anything to do with the Guardian section. I'm actually just going to go ahead and create the account, or obviously if I have already created it, it'll ask me to update user. So in this instance, with the parent or Guardian, I'm actually going to just add them to the system as if they were sort of a standard user, if you like. When I actually go back and start to look at inputting my child or, you know, young person who might need to be associated, this is where I'll actually pop in their first name, last name, maybe select the specific role. In this instance, I'll get rid of member and actually just have my child role selected. I'm not going to add an email address because, as Leanne said, the parent is already on the software and is a part of maybe the Marshmallow Elfins here, so I'm going to leave this blank. Now, as I head down the page and I get to the Guardian section, I want to make sure that I'm allowing a Guardian to log in on behalf of this user. So I'm going to always select yes. Now, underneath this, it'll actually show me my people's database, and underneath I can actually select the parent who is going to be the guardian of this dependent. Now, because I've selected allow Guardian to log in on behalf of, yes, I want a Guardian to log in on behalf of. Who is it that I'm allowing to log in on behalf of this child? So in this instance, I'm going to select the parent account, and I also selected myself just for the demonstration of this webinar. And once I'm happy, I'm going to update the user. And you'll notice on the left hand side underneath your events you might now have the My Dependents section. Now if you don't have this initially, it's worth going ahead and just refreshing your page just to make sure that the information that we have just added actually syncs to the account. And you'll notice that I'm now able to actually see the child account and also potentially another child that I had previously. And here I can actually go ahead, log in on behalf of, and you'll now notice that I actually have a bit more of a depleted sidebar / navigation bar, and can actually communicate with everyone on the group, pay for any events, and also any invoices on behalf of this individual. So hopefully that's a little bit clearer in terms of how to set up the sort of guardian dependent relationships, and hopefully you were able to see my screen as well.
Thank you.
No worries.
We've just got a few more questions.
Yep.
The next question was, there was also the suggestion that Groop would remind people to update their health info, or when someone booked an account, it would prompt them to confirm their health info was correct. Is this possible?
Is that is that through a submit sections?
Yeah, so I think they're asking when someone obviously they filled in their child registration form maybe a year ago, and it's maybe an annual update.
Yeah.
Will the system prompt them to do that, or is it that they have to send out another data request to all their members and say, we send out another data request, can you make sure the information we have is correct?
Yeah, so at the moment, unfortunately, it isn't a sort of automated process. It would be a manual process, which you would have to send out maybe that sort of year later. Within the people section, a nice way of being able to see who has actually updated their software, I can actually add a specific column to this, which is updated at. And it'll actually show me a list of all of the dates and sort of times that, I'll tell you what, if I just remove a couple of these other columns, it'll actually show me the date and time of which the profile was updated. So if, for example, I sent out a load of data requests today, I would be able to see who has actually updated their account if I knew that I'd sent it out on this date and this time. When I come round to the following year, I'll be able to see who has actually, been able to update it and who hasn't. And from here, I can actually then send out that data request again.
Thank you. Next question. What payment methods can parents use, PayPal, direct debit card? So on the system, parents can pay online using a system called Stripe, which is very similar to like WorldPay. If we can go to group settings, Tim, we can show them where they can go ahead and set up their Stripe account. But parents can pay via other methods if they pay by bank transfer or in cash. I mean, we're not stopping any of those kind of payments happening. It's just that if they do want to pay online, it is available through Stripe.
Yeah, so if, for example, my Marshmallow Alphins here, if I did want to be able to send invoices and have payments coming through the software, I'd need to go ahead and just connect/create a Stripe account. Once I click on this, it actually takes me through to sort of their side of things, and I just have to go through some nice simple step-by-step areas to actually be able to create this. And once I have done that, it means that I can take payments through the software. Now, one thing that we are again working on and are looking to deploy very soon is that, for example, if we are to send out 20 invoices that are maybe attached to an event, 15 of these individuals might pay through the software. However, 5 of them actually turn up on the day and pay cash. Currently, there is no way of being able to report on this or record this information within the software. So we are actually looking at bringing in the ability to report whether an invoice was paid via cash on the day, whether it was a check, whether it was cancelled, and that's something that we're looking at bringing in very shortly as well.
And the next one, is there a fee? So there is a fee associated with Stripe.
Yes,
I
there
can't
is.
remember the percentage.
It's I believe it's 1.4% plus 20p, and then Groop take a 1% slice as well. So all in, it's 2.4% plus 20p.
Okay, and that's deducted from the total that you had asked for. So I think some groups might want to build that price into their event fees, or be aware that will be deducted from the total.
Correct.
Say if you, I don't know the maths, so I'm not going to try that. But yeah, it'll be deducted from the fee. So So that's a question about Stripe. There is guidance on our website, on the Woodcraft website, and it goes through every question that Stripe are going to ask you on that small application, and all the answers are there. So it is available in the treasurer section of the guidance. So if you are planning to set up your Stripe account, the instructions are there. If you put in your group or your district's bank details, depending on what you decide, that money will go directly into your account. It will not come to national. It will come into your account. And the next question, Neil, and is that associated to the parent or the child? I'm not entirely sure what this question means. Neil, are you able to just jump on and ask that question? It just give me a bit more information. You there? No. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. And as a district treasurer, can I see that info? I think Tom is asking whether as a district treasurer he would be able to see health forms for children. Hi.
Hi, yeah. So Neil's asking a follow-up question to. We're both asking a series of questions together. So to do with payments. So is that associated? Is that payment that made online associated to the parent or to the child? And then I'm asking as a district treasurer, what information can I see? And I think Nays is following up on that as well.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Thank you. Tim, are you able to?
Yeah, so with regards to that, at the moment, it will always go through the name of the individual who that has been sent to. So, for example, if it is the child who has been sent the invoice, it will show up saying that the child has paid it. Now, when you actually create a Stripe account through the software, you also obviously create a Stripe account. So you're able to log in to Stripe and see these transactions as well, and obviously from the Group Pay admin side of things, you'll actually be able to see the individuals and who it is that's paid it, but it will always show the name of the individual who's been sent to the invoice. So it might be, for example, child, but even though the invoice was paid by the parent. I hope that makes sense.
And as a district treasurer, can I see that info? I'm guessing you're talking about financial information. As the district treasurer, currently you can only see financial invoices within the district level. Group are bringing in what they're calling the event through the hierarchy, which means that as a district treasurer, you'll be able to have a bit more oversight downwards and into all of your groups. So if you create an event at district level, it will go down to your subgroups and members, and it will also give you oversight on if their invoice is generated at a group level, you'll be able to see those. If you don't want to wait around for the event through the hierarchy to come through in a month or so, you can add yourself as a treasurer to every group in your district, and it means that you will be able to see the invoice section in every group. That's the way of getting through that. But your group contact can add you to their group very easily by just creating a person and giving you the role of district treasurer. The next question was.
I was just going to quickly. Sorry, Leanne. I was just going to quickly say off the back of it, if, for example, at the top right-hand part of the screen, if anyone has any queries around the software itself. We do have the help option, which also sends myself and the team a sort of more of a ticket in terms of a query that you might have, and you can submit that at the bottom and we'll normally get back to you pretty sharpish on this. But at the top there's also a link here which takes you to our knowledge base as well, which does give you step-by-step processes of the whole of the group software as well. So in here you can actually select the area that you want to sort of find out a bit more information on, whether that's, for example, My Events, and it gives you the My Events explained. We've got sort of small video tutorials as well and other sort of step-by-step processes to this. So sorry, Leanne, I thought I'd just quickly pop that in.
No, that's fine, because we're running out of time now. We've got 2 more questions and then
no worries.
We can call it day after that. So the second to last question, will the Stripe account be for the district, as subs and camp fees are paid to the district? I don't need a Stripe ID for my Elfin group. So you can set up a Stripe for your Elfin group, but you would, instead of putting if the Elfin group did have a bank account details and you didn't want to put those in, you could put the district account details into their Stripe account. But I'm guessing that would mean, Tim, they would have more than one Stripe account for a district. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can still connect. I'm pretty sure you can connect sort of multiple accounts, even though, for example, if the district has a Stripe account linked, you would just be linking the Stripe account as well to your subgroup.
Okay.
So any fees, I believe, would all go through to the same account. But I will double check that just to be 100% sure. But I'm pretty confident that's the way it works.
Right, it'd be best in that case just to use the district account to receive the monies for all of your subgroups below the district.
Correct. Yeah.
The last question is, there was a lot of talk of Groop looking after gift aid. We did mention that a bit before, but we are introducing a subs donation section, which Tim touched on, and that is in testing and hopefully coming to us very soon. But it will manage things. It will manage when someone makes a donation and gift aid's on top, and then we'll obviously process that, and those monies will go out to the district or group. So that is happening. So that's all of our questions. I hope you found that helpful this evening. As Tim said, there are lots of kind of help areas within the group system for you to go to. We also have a page on our website, which is woodcraft.org.uk/group. I'm on hand as well to answer questions if you need me, and obviously there's the live chat as well in group. But thank you all